Hello and welcome. It's Francis here. Thank you for coming back to my channel. If this is your first time here, I bid thee welcome. There is a subscribe button and a bell below if you would like to help support this channel by subscribing. And when you click on the bell, you'll be notified as to when I upload more content. So I'm coming to you from Kaurna country. As such, I acknowledge the Kaurna people of the Adelaide Plains as being the traditional custodians of this land. So we have quite an important sort of transit of sorts coming up next week on the 22nd of July, and this is just going to be a very short video in relation to that. And this cosmic occurrence is Venus going retrograde in the astrological sign of Leo. And it's already in Leo, and it will be going retrograde, as said, from the 22nd of July, and will not be stationing direct until 3rd of September. So what does all this mean over the next, say, 42 days or so? Venus is the planet most commonly associated with relationships, with love, but all sorts of relationships, work colleagues, friends, families, etc. And also our relationships with other things, such as our values, our relationships with finances and money, and also our relationship with ourselves. So when it starts to go retrograde in Leo, it will start at around about 28 degrees, and we'll be retrograding back to around about 12 degrees before, as I said, it stations direct again. Now, according to various astrologers that I follow, this period when it's in retrograde will be a very deep programming in respect to our heart's desires. As I said, this is sort of the center that Venus actually rules. And Venus is also about how we show up in the world, our inner values, not only our collective values, and how our values are actually projected outwards, what we create from this perspective of self-worth. And it's also, as I said, in relation to our connections with other people, our relationships with other people. Not just, as I said, just intimate relationships, but how we get along with people in general, which could be a little bit of it's changed a bit since the pandemic, and now coming out of it, how do we feel? How are we getting along with other people? Venus also is connected with finances and money energies. So it's about how we make our money, how we spend our money, what's important to us to spend our money on, what makes us feel worthy, and all those things. Leo, on the other hand, is, excuse me, the lion. So it's all about self-expression, but having the courage to shine your light in the world, being who you are, and the fact that you are creating or co-creating this role, this path for you with the universe. Leo is also about love, romance, and attraction, but on that really deep, primordial, sort of soul-based level. It's about your connecting on a really deep soul level, looking at our soul gifts, how we express these, how we want to be seen, and how we want to be recognized or acknowledged by other people. So when Venus is in Leo, it's all about developing this confidence and also self-recognition. It's about finding a balance, because Leo can be a little bit sort of egocentric. It's all about me, the spotlight. So it's balance between not having a extended or exuberant sense of self. A healthy Leo actually connects on a heartbeat, which is the resident place where our soul resides, and knows the balance that everything is only giving, but also receiving. So there's a two-way street. And from the heart, it is a place of self-acceptance as well. Venus in Leo can, however, be rather competitive. And you may find yourself, you may have done this in the past, not giving up on something until you've actually seen it through, regardless of where the energy to achieve this is coming from, where it's being sourced from, whether it's coming from your sort of more sort of ego, head driven, or it's more heart, soul driven. So the themes over the next 4 months are going to sort of tend to focus around finances and relationships, because Leo is about our personal energy, how this is being dealt with, how we are dealing with these energies also in our life. And while Venus is in retrograde, it could actually bring up aspects or highlight energies that we've actually outgrown, things that we no longer desire. So looking at our self-worth, it's really important to consider, what do we desire for ourselves? What's our goal? Also, what is worthy of our money, especially in these times of increasing pressures on the household, the cost of living crisis. So we need to sort of take a step back and look seriously at our choices. Venus actually entered Leo on the 5th of June, where it was in opposition to Pluto in Aquarius, just before Pluto went into retrograde. And Pluto, we know, is the planet of death, or more particularly ego death. It's always about coming to an end, sort of that deep realization that we may have been felt like people have let us down, been really unhappy about how things have turned out. But there's a sense of knowing that something needs to be removed in order for us to see new ways or new choices that need to be made so we can get back on our soul path. So now Pluto is retrograding in Capricorn, and from the 22nd of July, Venus is going to be retrograding in Leo, asking us to check in, to review with what we truly want, what we really desire, especially on a heart-based, soul-based level, because this retrograde event is about changing, it's about evolving, it's about allowing things to fall away that no longer serve us. And while this is happening, Venus is also allowing herself to rise in her personal power, getting herself more of a sense of self-worth, especially when looking at what she deserves and what she wants to actually create in the world. And also, especially if things that we've tried in the past, we've had this sort of ego, this lion, sort of hold on, achieving something, regardless of it not working, now's the time to let those things go. There's also a bit of a warning or a reminder to watch out for an unconscious sense of entitlement, though. Just because we desire something doesn't necessarily mean that it's ours to have. And sometimes it's actually best to rise our own personal standards and hold ourselves to those standards in order to create the next level of consciousness. And by this, I mean, just because everybody else is, it's a little bit negative, saying low level, sort of, or what they're wanting to desire in their life is what I say, more immediate, more sort of earth-based, here and now. Well, that's important. They don't see beyond that to a higher goal and higher purpose. And this purpose, especially as Pluto, when Pluto moves back into Aquarius, is more about the collective, still in the sort of like me attitude. And what we need to do is raise our energy and sort of take it to that next level. Another interesting thing about Venus and Leo is that it's all about masks. that we wear because Leo is a bit of a performer. Now, we're taught to wear masks in order to be accepted and to be liked, especially amongst our peers, our work colleagues, family members, etc. But how does wearing these masks make you feel, especially with the desire to become more aligned with your authentic self? Are you strong enough to remove these masks, to ask yourself whether you are showing up in a more genuine, authentic manner and going to take the risk of being yourself, standing out from the crowd, or continue wearing masks? It's also interesting because Leo is a bit of a risk taker. So when we tap into that sort of Leo energy, you may find that you will be reassessing your ability to truly be authentic by gaining that courage within yourself to remove the masks. And adding or flowing onto that, it's interesting to note that as more and more people are opening up to their intuitive abilities, and we're seeing this happening, they are also opening themselves up to this ability of being able to determine falsehoods more readily than before. And we've seen this especially over the last couple of years. Therefore, on the flip side to that, it's becoming increasingly important for us to be true to ourselves and walk in our own truth. Now, if you do not know who this self, this true self of yours is, then it is time to actually start removing the masks and discovering who exactly you are before events external from ourselves actually strip these masks from you. Now, what's quite interesting is that in my book, Encountering the Dark, God's Journey into the Shadow Realms, I actually do have a section on masks here. I'm just trying to find it. When we talk about Medusa, because there's the organ Medusa, you probably can't see it very well in this light, because she is about working with Medusa, and she's probably more known in Greek mythology with having the hair, the snakes, and turning people into stone. But there's quite a bit of a backstory to her, and she is also connected with removing the masks that we tend to put up and sort of protect our fragile soul self. And the exercise I have in here is discovering Medusa's soul mirror. So it's actually an adaptation from an Austrian occultist by the name of Franz Baden, who sort of came up with this idea of doing some really self-soul look at who we truly are in the world. And so this seems to be quite important, or connects in rather nicely with this Venus retrograde in Leo when we're talking about our mass. So as normal, look at your natal chart, your birth chart, to see what house you have Leo and Venus in, because this will also give you a layer of understanding in areas where you may be needing to look at in your life. Now, an astrologer that I do follow, Molly McCord, and link her video below, she mentioned that back in August 2017, we had a total solar eclipse that was 27 degrees of Leo. So that was some 6 years ago. And she mentioned, maybe it's, if you can think back, what or where you were 6 years ago and how far you have grown since August 2017? What about your understanding with respect to your own personal needs? Maybe check in with yourself as to who this version of you now is that you're presenting to the world. And also have a look at the things that you are creating for yourself. How have these changed since the solar eclipse back in August 2017? Because the solar eclipse, again, the sun is exposing what's being hidden and allowing things to travel or be revealed. Look at what your heart space, again, coming back to your desires. How is your heart grown? What needs to now be reprogrammed? We're in retrograde season. Retrograde is all about reprogramming, reviewing, refreshing, renewing, reassessing. How or what is connected with your heart now? Venus will be stationing, as I said, around about the 4th of September. Would have retrograde right up to about 12 degrees of Leo, and then it will station to Greg, so this will be around about the 4th of September. And then it will actually be in conjunct with the North Node, which by that time would have moved into Aries, or will be moving into Aries. So we're looking at maybe a timeline of, say, from September through to early October, where Venus will be connecting with the North Node. And this will be creating some rather powerful energies. So by this time, Venus has more of an understanding of what she is wanting, having released what no longer works, surrendered, letting things go, and now being ready to go out with a new sense of purpose and achieve these new goals. So we're looking at really early October. It'll be around about a time of saying yes to what your heart truly desires, especially if things are happening in your life based on the level of work that you have undertaken. Again, this is the whole process of letting things go, of surrendering things that do not work. If we keep them in our lives, they actually block opportunities that are waiting to then come in. So even if a lot has been removed, has been taken away, and have resulted in a degree of confusion, that maybe you're in a position where you no longer truly know what you want, been there, done that, got the t-shirt, so to speak. Venus then will be asking us, again, as I said, early October, to start really tapping into our heart, our soul, asking us to take that deep dive into our true self and trust. Opening up this heart center and the heart that probably has been closed. For a lot of us, it's been closed over the last number of years. Now it's really time to open up and expand it. But in doing so, just keep in mind that in other areas of growth, it can be a little bit uncomfortable at first, but you need to push yourself through. However, there's this energy there supporting it, which comes from Chiron being in Aries. So Chiron is the wounded healer, and Aries, the first sign of the zodiac, offering all this energy, the supportive energy into areas where our heart needs, so more love, more light, giving us indications where our healing really should be focused on. So that's just a little bit of the upcoming retrograde of Venus in Leo. I will be linking to Molly's video below because she does go into a lot more meaning behind it because she's an astrologer and I'm not. And so take care and let's focus on that heart expansion. Blessings.